Well, hello, Christina.
Hi, Liz.
How are you?
I am doing awesome. How are you today?
Awesome. Awesome. I'm great. I'm great. I'm just so happy to be here with you. I really have been looking forward to this all day.
Yeah,
So I'm really, really pleased. Thank you for taking the time out to be here. I appreciate it so much.
it's my pleasure. I was looking forward to this as well.
Wonderful. Well, lots of folks are loading in here. I always like to give
Mhm.
them a minute to come on in. But let's just share a little bit about your background.
Sure.
You took one of our Target 100, sort of, we call it the foundation course. At the time, we were calling it a beginner course. And I always say it's not because you're a beginner, but because we really truly want you to see this in a whole new way and to begin again and forget
Mhm.
everything that you ever thought you knew about weight loss and wellness. So
Yeah.
with that, and just tell everybody a little bit about what your experience was there and where you are now.
Yes. So I decided to it was more of like a decision that I had made when I started doing a lot of self-reflection during the pandemic. Um, so and I would say earlier in 2021, I was living in Washington State at the time, like across the country. I'm in Florida right now with my family, but like when I was living in Washington State, um, I made I was starting to listen to an Audible book about what was called "Personality Isn't Permanent" by Benjamin J. Hardy, and he um, he just basically talked about like how you don't have to be stay like the way you are if you're not happy with yourself. You could still grow, you could still self-improve. And just to give an example is that like when I was growing up as a little girl, um, I was born in Tampa, Florida, but I would always move from like state to state to a new school, to a new city, because my dad, he was in the hotel business. He did like every kind of role, and he's been doing general managing for many years now. So I got to see new places, but it was very hard for me to make connections at the time, as a kid. Like it was very hard for me to make friends, and then in turn, it gave me an internalization of like, oh, something's wrong with me in a way.
Sure.
Um, there was a specific science project or something that I remember, like maybe fourth grade or something, and all the students would write a one little trait about each person and like in a little note and stuff. And I remember specifically that I would just get quiet, shy, nice, but those were the only traits I remember. Maybe good at drawing because I always take a sketchbook with me, but like those are traits that I kind of internalized and just thought like, oh, that's just me, I guess, that there's nothing more than that, right? So and basically I would just say that's how I limited myself a lot.
Hmm.
Like I didn't like it was I was anxious about taking opportunities. Um and because my dad, like I would compare myself a lot to my dad. He's a leader. He always like does public speaking. He manages like businesses and stuff like that. So for me, I always felt like kind of ashamed of myself in a way that like I wasn't like him.
Sure.
And but I was what I did have was like creativity.
Hmm.
And I loved drawing and sketching and just imagining characters, and I mean that's what I do today. I'm an illustrator now for
Wonderful.
freelance. So yeah.
Wow.
So luckily I get to do that as a job. But anyway, what I wanted to bring up was I had internalized those traits and like thought like, oh, I can never make genuine connections or friends, it's just that's just the way it is. And I remember listening to this Audible book in 2021, early in the year. that like it doesn't have to be that way, like, and one of the things I know about myself, one of the positives was that I have resilience. I have the strive to always self-improve, um, just like is in whatever way, mentally, physically I had struggles, because I didn't exercise, but like, and I was always stuck at my desk. But um, and then I saw David Josefsberg, like he was talking about Target 100. I think I saw it on Instagram or something like
Sure,
that,
yeah,
you know.
probably.
Um, yeah, and I told him that I listened to a podcast. I forgot what the name was, but it was you and him talking to someone,
Yes,
and you
yes.
were talking about Target 100. And I thought about like how much I wanted to be part of that community, and that's what happened really. Like once I started like taking a journal and writing down the things I wanted to, what I want my future self to be, what is my ideal self to be, and that was sometimes that was doing hobbies that a young past self me thought I always wanted to do, but always got scared, like taking vocal lessons or doing some dancing, or something like that, because, I'm afraid of judgment and stuff, or like I'm not going to be good enough.
Mm,
So taking the class for Target 100 really helped me push aside self-limitation, I will
mm,
say,
mm,
and I think I brought this up in the first class when we had the first class in Target 100, that I wanted to uh, navigate my way through self-limitation and kind of just like, you know, go through the pillars and see what I could do, see how I could grow within myself. Yeah, I'll just say that.
Oh my God, Christina, thank you. What a beautiful introduction to you.
Yeah,
And thank you
thank
for
you.
your sharing and your vulnerability. And wow, I'm writing notes. I always write notes when I coach anyone. And I just I'm so I'm so awestruck by your journey here. And I wrote down like the idea. I love this that you're sharing a book, because I think anyone who watches these is always looking for more resources. And you said
Yeah.
the name of the book was Personality Isn't Permanent, but like
Mhm.
I wish that could be you at your age.
Yeah.
You you're so self-aware around what it is that is limiting you or where it came from. And what you're so exciting to me is that you're so willing to do the work.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I
Yeah.
wrote down here, like, basically what you did in your journal was create a vision board. And, we're coming into January and I love vision boards. And you were writing down what it was that you wanted to see happen in your life, right? And you realized, and people don't often realize this, is that really we're just energy beings. And where we direct our energy is where it goes.
Yeah.
Right, so you can
Yeah.
direct your energy towards wellness and change and growth and, who I want to be,
Mhm.
or you can direct your energy towards where you've been and what you think you are and what you've been told that you are. And I think
Yes.
a lot of folks in weight management and weight loss have been told for years who they are and where they should be and what should be expected of them in their outcome and their life based on either their physical appearance or the assumption, I think, around weight is that people who carry weight or want to do something about their weight, I mean, because I've carried weight in my life, was that somehow I was lazy or somehow I didn't, have that vision for myself. And I
Yeah.
think what Target 100 strives to do is really help you understand that there's so much more to it than that.
Yeah.
And I love this idea that understanding what was externally placed on you, that you were shy or you were quiet or you were this or you were that, those were things that you I love that you even have the clear memory of that science project because I want everyone to know that we all decide who we are at some point in our lives, and it's usually in our adolescent years, right? It's usually in
Mhm.
those teenage years, early teenage years. We actually decide who we are based on external reflections that are
Mhm.
being
Yeah.
sent back to us. And what you've identified so beautifully is that you could actually pick out, like, there were external reflections that were placed on me, and I'm not sure they're true,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Mm.
I'm not sure they're true. And then for the folks that are watching that are working on their weight loss, sometimes those external, things that were placed on us was that, like, we were not empowered, we were lazy, we were gonna struggle with this our whole lives, and we couldn't break
Yes.
out of this. But you talked about limiting beliefs, and what a core piece of the Target 100 program is to help you understand that
Yes.
limiting beliefs are habitual thought patterns.
Mhm. Yes.
That's all they are. That's all they are. Someone said, "You're shy, you're quiet." You took it in and you told yourself over and over and over again, because we try to teach you here that the brain loves repetition. It really
Mm.
does. Brain loves what it can count on, and it loves repetition. So you
Yeah.
took that in and you repeated it to yourself, and you made it your identity. But what we're also trying to teach you is that, right, like your book, Personality Isn't Permanent, that identity is not permanent at all, and you can go in and
Yeah.
you can transform that in so many ways. So you're obviously doing that. You're here tonight. You're challenging yourself. You're always, as you said, taking these opportunities to, hey, I want to try X.
What's funny is that, like, when you asked me to speak, guest speak for this, it was going through my head. It's like, oh, I don't know. And then I did the power move and said yes. I'm like, this is what I want to do. This is what my future self wants to be, being able to take that opportunity. So I'm like, that's why I'm here.
That's incredible, incredible.
Yeah.
Whoa, and the power move of yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, you're just dropping knowledge on people right now. The power move of saying yes to something that you don't know what the outcome is going to be. You're not sure what to expect. You're not sure how this
Mhm.
conversation will go. And I said, when we got on here, I said, there's no expectation out of this except for
Yeah.
us to connect.
Yeah.
And that is also healing that younger self that said, I can't have connection, right?
Hmm.
Like, so here we are actually connecting. Um, I'd love to know sort of what journey did you go on through the course? Where are
Hmm.
you now? And what is that next level that we can take you to, that we can help boost you to?
Sure. So I just want to say that the community in Target 100 has been wonderful. Like, I never felt that much support in my life, I will say, because, like, speaking, it was that, like, effective, like, because the support group was very supportive, and that it made me feel comfortable about sharing my story each class, you know. But, like, with Target 100, I will say that one of the cool things that happened recently was that I did happen to lose 7 pounds since October, you know, and I struggled with that a lot, and and there were a few things I figured out because of Target 100 on that note. With I will say one of the pillars, nutrition. Um, I I tend to seek a lot of comfort food, and snacking at night, and
Mm,
that was that was very hard to navigate through. Um, so I started doing, like, after my trip, and I came back home after October. I started to do some intermittent fasting, um, and, like, I'll do, like, let's say 16/8, you know, and then maybe occasional longer hours, Um, but the one thing that really helped was to have a cutoff point at night, like an evening, like no more, finish your dinner like at 6 p.m. or
Mhm.
something,
Yeah.
Um, and that actually helped with my sleeping too,
I hoped you'd
Yeah,
say
like
that.
yeah, yeah. It like I get now normally 6 to 8 hours, and I sleep so much better nowadays.
That's
Like,
amazing. That's
yeah.
amazing. Well, it's so funny for me, I've been in this business over 20 years now, right? In the weight loss business, but then I started dieting when I was 14. And so that's
Hmm.
a lot of years in this sphere of watching trends come and go and people say things. And I can still remember when Oprah was like, "How'd you lose the weight?" She said, "I didn't eat after 7." And this was like when I was in
Ah, okay.
college, right? Like, there was this kind of this, and then it became this, and then it became intermittent fasting, and I think the power of having some sort of cutoff, and we talk about it in Target 100, it's ish, if you eat at 6:30, you're not gonna
Yes.
like go crazy and say I failed, and like it's an
Yeah.
ish, right? But the
Mhm.
power of saying like, okay, I am not going to eat after dinner, which is a behavior change for you. You were snacking late at night, which is
Mhm.
just sort of course, we do that, right? We're tired and we're stressed, or it's habitual, or whatever the pattern is. But if we can kind of go in and say, I'm going to give myself some sort of a structure in my
Mhm.
eating, because the environment we live in now is structureless, and eating at all times is acceptable. In fact, eating in all situations now, like whereas like when I think about even if my grandmother, my nana, who she lived till she was 97, like in her generation,
Mhm.
you didn't take bites of things, like you sat down at the dinner table and it was set and you ate dinner, and after dinner you didn't eat anything, right? But now
Yeah.
the snack food industry is the highest growth industry in our nation at this point, because we as Americans have decided that snacking is how we live, right? And then the pandemic compounded that. So I love that you're kind of focusing in on that, like giving myself some guidelines, because otherwise
Mhm.
it's like a tree falling in the forest. No one's there to see you have that snack. Like,
Yeah.
right, how do I begin to have those guidelines around my eating patterns? Because we could eat all day, every day.
Yeah.
It's
True.
acceptable, right?
Yeah, and two a couple other guidelines I actually gave myself was because I am a sugar fiend. Like I love desserts and stuff like that, but I
Yeah.
did give myself a guideline about avoiding added sugars in
Nice.
foods,
Nice.
and that seemed to really help. Um,
Mm.
and with intermittent fasting, I would make sure that like for most of the time that my first meal has to be like fruit adjacent or a salad, something healthy that's wholesome, like having that being the first meal, like after intermittent fasting. So, so you don't feel like exhausted or tired or sluggish or feel guilty and stuff. And mind you, it was never perfect. Like what I liked about Target 100 is that it teach you the ish and like aim for the B. Um, there's an ebb and flow. Like I will say that sometimes, even in the same day, let's say I get up in the morning and then I go on directly to my phone. I know I shouldn't be like, sometimes I know myself I shouldn't be doing that because I get distracted and, it, I could spend like an hour or something in bed just scrolling, right? And usually I would think, oh, there goes my morning. It's all gonna
Ah,
go downhill from now. But and remember that I still have time just to reset myself. The day hasn't. I haven't lost it. So what I could do from there is get up, drink some water, maybe wash my face, and then uh, to get rid of that stress. Personally, I do like a 10-minute meditation. You know,
yeah.
just to breathe. and it just kind of just resets me, you know?
This is such a
Uh,
great lesson for anybody watching, right? I think even that, right, is it comes down to like even that it's a day is either good or a day is bad.
yeah,
Right, and we're trying to erase those lines at Target 100 all the time, and what you've done so nicely, and that's our teaching, is like, can you catch yourself in the act of declaring that because of one action, the whole thing is done, right?
yeah,
And because you can recognize, oh, you know what? I spent some extra time on my phone this morning does not therefore mean I should eat 14 cupcakes for lunch,
yeah,
right? We're trying to really teach you how to uncouple those thoughts and behaviors, and that's the magic of it. And I love that you've really taken it into your life into a much larger way in terms of like really saying like, can I bring this into my whole existence on many
yeah,
levels?
yeah,
And that's really for anyone watching who's never taken our courses, it's sometimes it's hard, I think, for people to understand, but we're teaching the framework around how to create the guidelines that work in your life and to try, I always say try on the hats, right? So you tried
yeah,
on this hat of like stopping eating after 6:30, right? Having dinner early and then stopping to eat. It felt good and it
mhm,
worked and it gave
mhm,
you results and you liked it. And that was great. For some people, it's more about like, hey, I tried on this hat of, changing my morning routine to have a walk in it, and that way,
yeah,
right? So we're trying to help you find what works for you in a some sort of a self-made program. And it sounds like you've really made a lot of really interesting pieces of the program. So we've got this sort of kind of stopping that eating after dinner and having that time. We've got a lot of identity work going on. Where are
mm.
you working now? Like what is your current
I
effort?
would say definitely movement has been a lot better.
Hmm.
So another thing that I've done for myself with movement is um, I take my dog to a lot more walks, you know.
Yeah.
I adopted, like during the pandemic, I adopted him to help me go outside because was afraid of like leaving my house, you know, at the time and stuff. But definitely it has helped another way of resetting my head just to take a walk. And another thing I do actually is that my dog has to go run no more than I had to take him like every 2 or 3 days, you know, or he's gonna go crazy in the house, right? So what I do is like I take him into the dog park and I actually do laps around the park itself. And my partner actually will join me too, and I have my watch on all the time, you know? So I'm constantly looking to see where I'm at, like how many steps I am. And I will say that my normal is not 10,000 steps, but it right now I gave myself a benchmark of 5,000 steps, and that's already way better than what past me was doing, was like less than 1,000 steps, you know, because I would always sit at my desk.
Yeah, right. You have a very sedentary job. I mean, yours is
Yeah,
you're an illustrator in computer world, so
yeah.
constantly
And
on the computer.
I would just hermit in my room, you know, and like not get any sunlight and stuff. And my partner would have to drag me out, you know, just to go outside. But it like once you get that repetition going, it is so beneficial for you. And um now I just do it just to clear my head. I'm the one that's like saying, "Hey, let's go out for a walk," you know.
Yeah.
So yeah. Uh and
Well,
I think I just like watching the numbers go up, like, you know, how well I'm doing and
so
stuff.
good. And I love
Yeah.
hearing this, like your benchmark now is 5,000 and it was 1,000. Like that's such a right? That's 5 times increase, right?
Yeah.
Got that on an investment, you'd be like, right? Well, in our steps, we tend to be like, we like underplay it, right? And we can't get to 6,000 until we get to 5,000, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but everyone wants to truncate that process and just jump right into oh, I'm going to go from 0 to, or 1,000 to 6,000. And what you do
Yeah.
is really work that up in such a nice way. It's so important. I mean, especially for anyone who's listening to this, and it's December. December is traditionally a difficult month of lots of entertaining and temptation,
Hmm.
holidays and things like that. And then people tend to want to slam into January and say, "Oh, January, I'm gonna just like
Yeah.
put all like Kelly quinoa for every meal, and like I'm gonna exercise every day." And it's this all or nothing sort of on or off kind of a thing. And I really want people to hear you right now is that what you're doing is sustainable, right? And we're having fun with our sort of January, like some of our
Yeah.
taglines. And I keep saying like January doesn't have to suck, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to
Yeah.
suck. You can eat good food and you can make changes in your life and you can lose weight, and it doesn't have to be this awful January where you're like,
Where you just burn out for the first week,
and
trying
then you,
to,
you lose 5 pounds and then you gain it all back plus more because you literally can't sustain what it was you're doing. You hate everything about what you were doing. So
yeah.
I love this whole message that you're giving. I think is super important for people to hear right now. And
Yeah.
they can be doing this right now in December, right? They don't have
Yes.
to throw the baby out with the bathwater if they have, right? If part of their day goes off track, it's okay. Grab another part, right? Get to your water, or maybe take your walk and get some sunlight. And you don't have to say that because I had this one thing happen in the morning with my phone that the whole day is off track. It's
Hmm.
so important for people to hear this, that within 24 hours you can make a change. It doesn't have to be in January, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me more about where you're headed with all of this, like what you're
Yes.
working on.
So I want to, I would say my weakest pillar is exercise, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
Um, that has been what has been helping is a tip that David had given me like, months ago, where I wanted to go all in into like doing 30 minutes, right? Like 3 days a week or 4 days a week. But I just didn't get myself into that because I started feeling overwhelmed about missing a day or something like that. And he just told me, just do 1 minute, I'm like, what's 1 minute gonna do? So, but I did it anyway,
Nice.
and I would sometimes just get up in the morning, I would drink my water and then start doing jumping jacks for a minute. And it's like, okay, I did it, right?
You did.
And then it's better than nothing, and then you actually start feeling excited just to do that 1 minute, and then it will just keep growing from there,
I love it. I love
right.
it. Yeah. Well, that's it. And so um as you begin to think about that, you're speaking to so many of the amazing things, is that first time you do that 1 minute, it's really hard. Like you're like, what,
Hmm.
right? The brain plays all these tricks. What's this 1 minute gonna do? Why are you gonna even do that? Like, right? All the
Yeah.
time it's got something to say. And you're just like, well, I'm gonna do it anyway because it's not gonna hurt anything.
Yeah.
Right, the 1 minute, it's 1 minute of my life. I may as well just do it, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I did that, and then you do it and you do it. You're speaking to the habit formation loop, which is right, sort of like what you experienced the dog walking is
Hmm.
you do it and you do it and you do it to the point where your body starts actually asking for it because it's a part of its daily routine.
I start feeling that, like, actually, like, once I started doing more walks and movement, I actually felt the motivation and the need to do some more exercise. It was such a weird feeling to me. It was like, wow, I actually have the energy, It's like, and then I just do it. Whether it just be running in place or just walking back and forth. And yeah, like it doesn't have to be an extreme exercise. You just have to move. That's
Yes.
all.
That's it, right? So the same thing happens with exercise. So I think if we focus there on, where you eventually want to go. I mean, we have loose goals that target 100 around 100 minutes in a week, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sort of like with your steps, you could say like, well, you know what, right now I'm doing a minute each day, that's 7 minutes, and that's where I am. And my next
Mhm.
goal is to see me at 10 minutes in a week, which would mean like a couple days a week I got to do 2 whole minutes, and maybe it's jumping jacks and some squats, right? And
Yeah.
then we're at 10 minutes, and that, right, and then we can go from there to whatever it is. You can do 2 minutes a day at 14 minutes, right? So
Mhm.
it grows over time, which is the way that anything natural that exists actually exists, right? Like if you watch a tree grow, it doesn't grow here and the next day you wake up and it grew this much. It
Yeah.
grew from here, all tiny bit, tiny bit, tiny bit, tiny bit through the process. We're very obsessed, I think, in our culture with jumping from here to here and expecting it to like last.
Mhm.
But there's no strength in that, right? There's only weakness here because there's so much empty space in between. But when a tree grows, it grows like this so that it can have strength. It's building upon itself
Yeah.
so that it's stable, right? And when you go from here to here, there's no stability. There's nothing to hold you. There's nothing to ground you.
Yeah.
So I love that. So talk to me about your goals with exercise.
So what the goals? Definitely I definitely wanted to take care of my body really because of I just the being stuck on at a desk, like doing like 8 hours at a remote job and then needing to do art, later, like, for a few hours after that. I had to figure out a way to take care of my legs and my knees because it's just sometimes I would be afraid to just go to my desk sometimes. Like, I would feel tired and overwhelmed and just go lay down.
Mhm.
Um, so definitely I would love to have a goal about strengthening my body in a way that I can also have the energy.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I would say that.
That's beautiful. I love that. So that, especially because we're going into 2023, I like people to have like a clear vision around what it is that they're doing, right? And yours just
Mhm.
is really clear. That's really nicely articulated, right? Want to have stronger legs and knees and a stronger body so that you have more energy and can do the things that you want to do, right? And so, it's so funny. I was at F45 yesterday and I hadn't gotten to go. It's like a strength training workout. And I hadn't been in a while. I had been doing other workouts. I've been doing some stuff at home. And all day, I just felt so good and connected to my body. It
Yeah,
reminded me that, like, what feeling strong in your body is the most amazing feeling. And you know
yeah,
where it comes from? Taxing your muscles. It just
yeah.
comes from that. So, like, being able to focus on the fact that whatever we do, so let's think about, how do we do that? Is this something you do at home? Is this something that you're looking to get involved with something external? Like, where are you? Where's
Mhm.
your head?
It's something I would love to do mostly at home.
Mhm.
Um, I think I attempted to go to a nearby class, but I just didn't have, I guess, there was just a lot going on that I didn't get myself to go out. It's kind of like going to the gym, and
Yes.
sometimes you just don't have the energy to go somewhere to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. There's
Right?
a whole world that we could talk about with that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So so at home, I love so why I'm digging in here is because clarity matters, right?
Mhm.
Clarity around like what's going to work for you versus what might work for somebody else. And so
Mhm.
it feels like at home works for you. Sounds like we've started into this with the 1 minute, even the 1 minute jumping jack stuff.
Yeah.
So now we want to just move that ball down the line. We can do that super easily. I mean, we've got a great resource for you right now in the Realize 100 membership. Ashanti and Michelle made these adorable videos in there that are 5 to 7 minutes, and
Uh-huh. Mm.
they're beginner level. Like, you could really do a couple of these, and they're on demand in the Target 100 Realize 100 group.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'd
So
love to look at that.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. It's
Mhm.
adorable. They are so well done. And there's a warm up you could do, and then there's an exercise, and there's even a little cool down. But I think that's where we are for you, in my opinion, is like,
Mhm.
you've started to put your toe in the pool, and now we want to just kind of go to that next level, which is like, let me see if I can go to that, like, 3 or 5 minutes, with Ashanti and Michelle at home in the comfort of my own home with people I kind of know from Target 100 and trust. Might be a really amazing place for you to start.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd love to start there. Yeah.
I love that
Great
idea for
suggestion.
you. Yeah, because that's it. Is like, I think the thing with exercise is having fun with it. We're getting votes here from Nikki Baker that the videos are amazing. Yay. Thank you, Nikki. I think that exercise is such a hard thing. And you talked about limiting beliefs in the beginning,
Mhm.
you talked about identity in the beginning. How do you identify when it comes to physical fitness? What would you say is your identity around that?
The physical fitness was, like, non-existent to me. You know, yeah, I guess, in a way, physical fitness is kind of a journey where I want to reconnect, my confidence within my body, you know? Uh, like I said, like, I would past me would hermit, I would be afraid to I have a lot of anxiety over things and stuff, and it's just it gets tiresome just to keep thinking that way, and I kind of want to feel good about myself, um, externally too, and like, and I was really proud of myself for getting to 7 pounds less right now, because I was so stuck at like this current at that certain weight, and and then I just it was really consistency. Not perfect. It was like still aiming for a B, like there was a time where recently I was really afraid to go get tacos, like, thinking it was going to take me back,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I did. I ate the tacos, but then after that I actually started doing some walking like after that dinner too, I just kept going with that. And lo and behold, the next day when I weighed myself, it didn't happen. Nothing catastrophic happened. You know, I was
Oh,
still
that
at that
never
low
talk.
weight. Yeah. So, yeah. And I know you talked about that all the time. It's like, it's not the end of the world if you have a cookie or anything.
But we
So,
do believe it, like, and you're
yeah.
exemplifying that, and everyone on this call can identify with that moment where you're gonna go eat something that you've put on the no list and said, like,
Hmm.
"It's gonna throw me off," or "It's bad," or "It's this," or "It equals," like you said, "This thing equals," like, "If I do this thing with my phone in the morning, it means I'm out of the pocket," right?
Yeah.
At all. But I love this idea of thinking about your identity. I'm with you. I mean, I was overweight from childhood, and I remember them making us run the mile in
Oh,
school.
goodness. Yeah. 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 I would, I would feel like vomiting after.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, it was like part of like my childhood was like, when in the year are they gonna cart us out there and make us run this mile? And so that made me kind of, at a very influential time in my life, decide that I was unathletic and that
Hmm.
I couldn't do those things, and that I was this kind of person versus that kind of person. And
That same story for me too. Yeah, definitely.
but what's funny, what I've really realized later in life is that was a decision that I made.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I can own that decision now and go like, okay, I made that decision, but I might have been wrong. Like, and I learned that later in life as I fell in love with running and did a marathon, and now fell in love with yoga over the pandemic, and I'm watching myself and I'm like, gosh, I have balance and like I can do these things. And I'm going
Yeah.
at 45, and I was a weightlifter for a while. Like, and I was like, wait, I'm looking at the evidence. The identity doesn't match the evidence. So I'm always
Mhm.
asking, so I really look into investigate the evidence versus the identity, which is oftentimes been decided by a younger version of ourselves who was influenced externally,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
verbalizing that so beautifully tonight.
Ew.
So I love this idea. I saw a really nice comment from Jana, who's just an incredible partner and piece of the Target 100 community. She was recommending this yoga with Adrian, which
Mhm.
is just, again, Adrian's adorable. She has this whole YouTube channel, and she often does these little yoga challenges. She has all levels, and
Mhm.
something that you really like. Um,
Honestly, yeah.
yeah,
I need all the flexibility I need, like just being at my desk. Yeah.
that's because you're at your desk all day, and
Yeah.
it's something you can do in the comfort of your own home. And often she'll do, as they say, little challenges of like, try to do this 31-day challenge with me. And it's not hard. Yoga has made me love my body, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's made
Yeah.
me really appreciate. I said this in my class the other morning because I'm doing yoga with this woman who does shows with David, Broadway show. She's a Broadway actress. And she, start when the pandemic hit, she started these yoga classes in my basement with just a few of us. And then we went into the garage and we would wear masks in the winter. Like, it was like crazy.
Wow.
But we stuck with it and we did it together. And I'm doing it with her. She's a Broadway dancer, and this other woman who's a professional dancer, and another woman who's a dancer, and another woman who's a dancer. And then David was doing it most of the time, who's really, very good dancer and like really moved their bodies in this way. I said, oh my gosh, never realized I had a back of my body. Like, like I never thought about like the muscles in my back, or like that my feet, what are my feet doing while
Yeah.
I lived basically from here up, right? Like, I'd never really noticed anything from here down. It was just like this body.
Oh, yeah. It's like, what are these muscles I've never felt before?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I recommend it so much. I love that.
Yeah.
So I think our work together tonight is about inspiring and motivating you to make 2023 this year where we explore some resources that are all
Mhm.
at your home. It sounds like you're an in-home you're an at-home workout person.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
great. Thank God we have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
Right? So I'd love anyone who's listening who has more recommendations for Christina, put them in the chat, because I
I'd
think we
love
can
it.
all use them, right? We can all
Yeah.
use them.
Mm.
But there's so much there. I think we'll, check out Ashanti, check out Michelle. So I think exercise and that identity around who am I in terms of my physical fitness, just because I decided who I was at some point, and because my job is sedentary, doesn't
Mhm.
mean that's who I am. I'm not sure who I am.
Yeah.
You're in an exploration of who you are in terms of physical fitness,
Mhm.
you know?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Honestly, this is one, a turn of phrase that I even wrote in my journal that really helps is that you can always change the script, of your life. So,
yeah,
yeah.
we're talking kind of about flexibility again, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
ability
yeah, yeah.
to not get stuck in a narrative, right? To be able to change a script, right? And say, like, okay, that's a story. Yeah, sure, we could go down that line. That's fine. But we can totally get in and change it and narrate and go along a whole other story. And they're all waiting there, right? I think that's what
Mhm.
you're really helping us understand, is that they're all waiting for us. We believe, we get stuck in one pathway, but there's like a million other choices we can make.
Yeah.
And don't let that silly brain, who likes habit pattern and loves to tell us who we are, because if we stay who we are, then we don't have to think, and we don't have to make any new decisions. So
Mhm.
this is going to be a little bit of a challenge for you to say, you know what, I'm going to block off some time. I'm going to give Ashanti and Michelle 5 to 7 minutes of my day today to see what they've got to offer. See how that feels. Again, I'm a real proponent of, if you don't like that and it doesn't satisfy you, it doesn't do something for you, you leave it behind and you find
Mhm.
something that does, right?
Yeah.
Got folks that have picked up ballroom dancing, like you were talking about dance. I've got
Yeah.
folks who've picked up swimming and swim classes, right? I've got people who have gone into weight training and really picked that up and loved it, but got to find what resonates for you. And I think that's where our work is this coming years, in that discovery around strength for you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, definitely. I'm
Yeah.
excited for that.
I know, right? It's exciting
Yeah.
to have that door open. Oh, we've got a couple of good ones. Mesh Movement, which is a YouTube channel. It's got 12 days of Pilates, little kind of challenge.
Oh,
And
cool.
Get Fit with Rick is great as well. They are great. They're also just walking, as I think you're in New York, New Jersey area.
Oh, I'm actually in Florida right now.
You are in Florida.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but do you live mostly up here? Why am I
I
placing
actually
I don't know why my
um
brain is placing you up here in my mind. Isn't that
well,
funny?
my partner's family is in New Jersey. So
Okay.
in October I actually went to go visit them in New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So
yeah.
I don't know why I'm putting you in my mind. I'm like connecting you with up here. You've got warm weather at least. You can really still get outside and do your movement. So that's great.
Mhm.
That's great. Yeah, because we're up here. It's dark. I just walk my dogs in the pitch black, and like it's cold, and I find myself shortening that. But there are some great at-home walking workouts as well
Oh
that
yeah. It gets dark at like 4 o'clock now, you know. So,
worst, the worst. But yeah,
yeah.
so it's good stuff. So I think we've identified a really great focus for you. Any other questions that you've got for me?
Um, hmm. I guess I have not even talked about the pillar of water quite
Mm,
yet.
ah,
It's funny because I was doing there are like a couple weeks there I'm like so consistent and stuff, and and, and then other pillars would take priority, like the stress and the sleep and stuff, like what's happening to the water, you know? But the one thing that has been such a helpful thing is just having a bottle right in front of you. Um, it really made all the difference. Yeah, yeah. Just I will say, like, before Target 100, it's kind of astounding how much little of water I did not even drink. It's like, how did you like do this to yourself? So now I'm just like drinking water all day as much as I can, and it's really good.
kind of
Yeah.
life changing, right? It's
Yeah.
it's funny that when I saw
Mm.
the stats around the people who are critically dehydrated, I mean, it's over 75% of our country is walking around critically dehydrated. And
Mhm.
every part of our body and our brain work on water. I mean, we are just water. That's what we
Yeah.
are. And that
Yeah.
it's become culturally just we just don't drink water. So I love to hear that that's become something for you, and that you've got a way to trigger it and it's happening and you feel the difference. That's
Mhm.
that's really very clear that you feel the difference, right? You were very clear about, wow, when I do the walks with my dog and get into the sunlight and get fresh air, I actually tell a difference. The water, I can tell a difference.
Yeah. Mm.
that that makes it stick, because you go, oh, there's a payoff here. There's a payoff. There's a benefit to me taking this little bit of effort and putting it in. I get
Mhm.
something in return. We're very transactional that way.
Yeah.
The exercise is going to be very similar for you, whereas you're going to go like, oh, it's hard to put the effort in, but on the other side you're going to go, wait a minute, all of a sudden I'm not as sore in my seat at the end of the day, or I feel stronger, I'm sitting up straighter, I'm have more energy. It all starts to pay off.
Oh
um,
yeah.
yeah.
I've had the feeling before, and now I want it again, you know? So,
Good, good. Get
yeah.
hooked on the feeling.
Yeah.
Well, this is amazing. I love
Yeah.
it. Well, thank you for stepping outside of your comfort zone and doing this amazing thing tonight. I'm so honored that you took the time. Um,
Thank
I
you.
yeah,
Mm.
I took some notes. I'm gonna send them your way like I always do. And I'm
Yeah.
here for you every step of the way. Just DM me in the web app anytime and let me know how you're doing. Yeah, and Tree is letting people know, guys, we have classes coming up in January like we always do. Our classes are starting very early January, the 9th, 10th, 12th, and 15th. We have classes. These are 10-week courses, live online education. You get a beautiful box of devices. You get your little Fitbit, you get your water bottle, you get your scale. They all work together on our web app. And we don't do these often, so get in while you can. Get your spot. You can, if you're not a part of our newsletter, Jeff definitely join Target 100's newsletter, and Tree has put up a link in the chat for you to register. I think it's great to hear, Christina, you had an amazing experience there, and that this kicked off a lot of great stuff for you. That's
Well worth it. Thank you.
well worth it. Well worth
Yeah.
it. Thank
Yeah.
you. Well, thanks for being an amazing part of this community. And I will be communicating with you, and we'll stay in touch and make sure you achieve all your next level goals.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be speaking with you and everybody. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a
Bye.
great night. Bye.